In Jeremy's journal, you watched a student very closely over the course of the week and tried to figure out how best you could support that student. We have a real-life example of a Jeremy. In a recent TeachLab podcast, we talked with a civics teacher, Neema Avashia. She told us a story about supporting a reluctant writer in one of her classes, and in a coincidence of almost cosmic proportions, her student's name just happened to be Jeremiah. Listen to the modification that Neema made in her practice to help Jeremiah make some great progress as a writer.
I think I've been spending a lot of time really thinking about my most resistant learners and like what are the blocks for them and how do I then design options that really are specifically for them and naming that for them. Mm-hmm. So I had a kid this year named Jeremiah who had a lot of anxiety around putting work on paper. He's brilliant, watches every video he can possibly watch, knows everything about the relationship between the United States and Russia, just in class conversations, you're like, weird, this kid is coming with a lot of knowledge. But he had transferred to our school from a charter school where he had really struggled. And he had a lot of anxiety around, performance, right? And so getting him to do, a written task could be really hard. And so I sort of, talked with him about what's the Jeremiah option going to be? What is the way that I can get you to read text and show that you've understood the text that feels comfortable to you? And so we had that conversation, and then we experimented with it, and we started calling it the Jeremiah option, and he loved it because it was for him, right? So for 75 or 80% of kids having one thing that kids are doing, they'll do it. But how do you really hone in on the 20 to 25% of kids where that doesn't work and use conversations with them and interaction with them to drive, opening up the experiences that kids can have.
Did Jeremiah make some progress towards writing over the years?
He did make a ton of progress. It was pretty cool. His last DBQ, we do these document-based questions, right? So our last one was on the issue of solitary confinement, and he did it. And he wrote the whole thing, and he did an amazing job. And that's a kid who in September, literally just stared at the screen for the 8 days that we were working on this assignment. So yeah, that sort of not feeling like I have to think about 100 different choices, but saying, okay, who are the kids for whom choice is most pressing, agency is most pressing, and who are not responding to the traditional way? How do I focus on those students and use their experiences to drive the shifts?